She has been a senior editor at Little Brown since 2002. She began her career at Farrar, Straus and Giroux, where she worked as an editor for 17 years, rising to vice president and associate publishers. After 4 years as a fiction editor at The New Yorker, she returned to book publishing. Her authors and her colleagues are most grateful. Pat Strachan.
Thank you very much. I'm supposed to stop this, right? Thank you very much, Susan. And I'd like to add to the kudos for poets and writers on their 40th anniversary of service. I've been to just about every one of these dinners, and I can attest to the fact that they're really a high point every year. I don't know where you are, Galen, but yeah, I was there the year that Galen did a trapeze, a flying trapeze act on leotard. And I hope we have that on video at some point. And Elliot, too, thanks for keeping the faith over the decades. Anyway, looking out over the room, I can't see anybody, but I have a feeling that it's like a happy family reunion. Bill Strachan is here. And Bill's been with me since we met in 1970 at the Radcliffe Publishing Procedures course. From different parts of the country, suddenly in Boston, and we've been reading in adjacent rooms, mainly manuscripts, I must say, for the decade since. My daughter thinks that we should have a hobby. Also, my dear friends Michael DeCapua and Lynn Goldberg and Bridget Marmion are here and have been since we started working together at FSG in the early 70s. I wish Roger Strauss and Bob Giroux were here on Earth, and also Cork Smith and Anne Freegood, Alan Williams and Harry Ford, publishing mentors all. And I wish Tom Gunn, Joseph Brodsky, Shezwa Miłosz, and Grace Paley were still here. Happily, great writers Lydia Davis and Tom Wolfe are here, sweetly representing my beginnings as an editor. Tom now very much a part of my present with his new novel. Other writers at Little Brown who live in New York are here, and my wonderful Hachette colleagues have come out in great force. I'm especially grateful to Michael Peach, Little Brown's publisher, who hired me 7 years ago when I was no ingenue, and Dave Young, Hachette USA's fearless leader during this revolutionary time in books. Rick Moody and Bill Clegg, both of whom have spectacular books coming this summer, are here, as is Brad Gooch, who gave us a biography of Flannery O'Connor that Flannery's editor, Bob Giroux, would have fully endorsed. Zachary Lazar, author of The Brilliant Sway and Evening's Empire, is here. Rather than working on his new book, Zachary, I'd really like to read it. And that's mainly what editors do. They read in a normal way when they're covering submissions, and very, very, very slowly when they're editing. Elliot had asked me to talk about editing poetry and literary prose, but there was that huge Jofi Ferrari Adler, thank you Jofi, interview that you can always refer to if you want to hear about the details. So I'm just going to break my work down into two of its most significant categories. First, an editor chooses manuscripts, then he edits the manuscripts, or she edits the manuscripts. As a general rule for choosing manuscripts, I'll quote the late poet Philip Larkin, with whom I worked tangentially at FSG. When Larkin was judging an English award for the novel in 1977, he found himself asking 4 questions about every entry. Could I read it? If I could read it, did I believe it? If I believed it, did I care about it? And if I cared about it, what was the quality of my caring and would it last? That's really about says it all for choosing a manuscript. Editing the manuscript, well, you know, once you get beyond the serial commas and the unintentional repetitions, then it gets fairly personal as well. It's a matter of, you know, little suggestions for tone and clarity that eventually may add up. As for the writers themselves, they're the source of everything I do, obviously. I can't even begin to express my gratitude to them and to the agents who brought them to me. A lot of those agents are here tonight. I wish I could mention all of you as I do my colleagues, but Ellen Levine is one of a very important agent to me. She brought me the manuscript of Marilyn Robinson's Housekeeping, and she brought me Larry Heinemann's Paco's Story, a favorite of Maxine's, and more recently, Daniel Woodrell's Winter's Bone. So thank you, Ellen. It's really not in a writer's job description to enrich an editor's life, but I find that they have all enriched mine in these little tiny joyful ways and in also rather large transforming ways. And I'm honored to be up here on the same podium with Juno and Mike and Maxine and Susan and Dave. Where's Dave? And I also want to give hats off to Dan Halpern, who was the first annual winner last year. Fine poet, fine publisher, friend of many, 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 many years. The company that I keep in receiving this award enhances its pleasure. Thank you, poets and writers.